Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello listeners, welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and with Corey.
Hello everybody.
We're broadcasting live today on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley. You can live stream us on civl.ca and you can catch the podcast at drlesleyphillips.com. Well, listeners, have we got a fantastic show for you today?
Yes, we
always do. And of course, if you're tuning in for the first time, this show's about metaphysics and spirituality, and it's also a talk show. So you can phone up and you can share your information, your insights, and say your piece. Or you can phone us up with a question, and in the latter part of the show, get an intuitive insight from me about your life questions. So today, listeners, I thought what would be a really fantastic idea is to start a series about meditation. We've done a series of shows before on meditation. And so if you look back on the podcast and you search on meditation, you'll get about 8 or more episodes. And we did an 8-part series where we talked about what blocks people. What blocks people from meditating, what blocks people from moving forward in their life that meditation can help you with. And I thought I'd do a slightly different series this time and focus on the benefits of meditation. So this is a 4-part series, and today we're going to focus on how meditation benefits you and your physical health, but we're also going to do a show on emotional health, mental health, and spiritual well-being as well. So that'll be the next few shows coming up where we don't have an interview. That's what we'll be doing. So let me start today's show by giving you my definition of what meditation actually is. It's an act of engaging in a practice to change your mental, emotional, or physical state, or to attain a heightened level of spiritual awareness. So meditation actually isn't just one thing. So we're going to do a follow-on series about the different styles of meditation, because there are many different meditation practices, and there are different reasons why people choose to meditate. So what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another person, and the reason that somebody's doing it can be quite different. So today's show is all about how it helps you with your physical health. Because meditation definitely does improve your health and well-being, and it is a scientifically proven fact that it does. Because as of this date, there have been thousands of scientific studies and clinical trials on meditation. In fact, if you Google meditation or you Google mindfulness, you get millions and millions and millions of results. If you search on PubMed, which is for scientific papers, you get over 5,000 for each of those terms. And so now there is like a really decent body of work scientific studies about meditation. And so people have been able to do what's called meta-analyses, and that's where somebody looks at, for example, the impact of meditation on cardiovascular health, and they will pull up all of the different studies that have ever been done, and then they will make a consensus opinion based on those results. So everything I'm going to tell you tonight is a consensus opinion, documented in science. It's not just one person saying it, but it's something that's been shown over and over and over again. And like I said, we're going to talk today on Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley about how meditation improves your physical health. So let's start by looking at what happens in your brain when you meditate. So did you know, Corey, that people who meditate have a selectively bigger and better connected brain?
Of course.
Of course.
Yes, I meditate, so I have a bigger brain.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
My tummy's bigger sometimes too.
Oh, well, I don't know if I've seen any studies about that, but maybe there are. But definitely would be on digestive health, or at least stress, and because people who get stressed get funny tummies, don't they? No.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, it really, really has a beneficial impact on the brain. And another thing that they've shown is that meditation alters your brain waves. But here's where it gets interesting. How it alters your brain waves, it depends on the style of meditation you engage in and how deeply you enter the meditative state. So remember I said that there are many different forms of meditation. So depending on what form you choose, different things can be happening to your brain waves. So when we're in our normal waking state, listeners, the brain wave is what's called a beta wave, between 13 and 30 hertz.
For the Canadians online, the beta.
The beta. So when your brain is in beta, you're not meditating, you're wide awake and you're alert. And then the next one to that is alpha waves, where the brain waves have slowed down to about 8 to 12 hertz. And this is the brainwave pattern when you're in a state of very light meditation, when you're feeling relaxed, that way that you feel just before you drop off to sleep or just when you're waking up in the morning. And this alpha state has been shown to be very, very helpful for memory recall and stress, pain, and anxiety reduction. Now, there's a deeper level, which is theta brainwaves, 4 to 8 hertz, and that is when you're in a really, when you're dreaming and you're in a REM cycle, when you've got that rapid eye movement going on, you're actually having theta brainwaves then. But also, when you are in a deep meditation, or often when people are susceptible to hypnosis and things can be suggested under hypnosis, their brain is in theta. And this is...
Again, for all you Canadians, theta.
Theta. Sorry, I haven't learned to speak Canadian yet. Anyway, and this theta state has been shown to be beneficial for awareness and creativity. And then there's an even slower one called delta, which is less than 4 hertz. And then people who are in a deep, dreamless sleep, who are unconscious, or who are participate in transcendental meditation, enter that brainwave state. And this is shown to be very healing and very restorative. But there's another type of brainwave called gamma, where the brain waves are faster, higher frequency, 25 to 100 hertz. And that is also associated with meditation. So they've done studies with Zen Buddhist monks, and they have found that when they enter states of meditative bliss and compassion and heightened consciousness and heightened cognition through the meditations that they practice, the brainwaves don't slow down, they speed up. And so this is associated with insight and intuition as well. So I believe that's the brainwave state when you're connecting with your intuition. Now, here's an interesting factoid that when somebody is under anesthetic, then these gamma waves are not present. So when somebody can go into delta, I think, when they're under anesthetic, but gamma waves are only there when you're awake and when you're meditating, not when you've been put unconscious. So Oh, and the other interesting thing I read about the normal brainwave state is that if you don't get enough beta, tomato, then that's associated with depression, attention deficit disorder, and insomnia, and which can lead to problems with emotional stability and concentration. So meditation alters your brain waves in different ways. Now, it also changes the structure of your brain. So scientists have shown that long-term meditators have increased grey matter. So there is cell growth. There are new nerves that are created, new synapses, new dendrites, new glial cells, new blood vessels, and so on, in certain specific regions of the brain that have to do with, or include, but not exclusive. There are other regions as well besides the ones I'm mentioning, but in general to do with learning, processing memories, emotional regulation, so regulating your emotions, and executive decision making. So those parts of the brain all get bigger when someone has a meditation practice. And they've also shown that the white matter changes. So the nerve cells that are communicating between these different regions of the brain have increased myelination, which is the protective covering around the axons, and the nerves are able to send information more quickly. So someone who meditates has a bigger and better connected brain. Now, that's just the brain. We haven't even got into the rest of the body. We haven't even got into other systems of the body. And you will find, listeners, if this is something that interests you and you want to do your own research, you can pretty much look up scientific papers on any area of your physical health and how meditation influences it. Now, I thought I'd share just a couple of areas today in the time that we've got where there seems to be a lot of evidence. And one of those areas is cardiovascular health. And of course, a lot of these areas, like cardiovascular health and immune health and pain and that kind of thing, they are responsible for people not being able to go to work. And they're some of the top reasons in our culture and in our society why people pass away prematurely. So meditation, and again, this is based on these big meta-analyses of multiple studies. It's not just one person saying this. Meditation helps control hypertension. It helps lower blood pressure. It helps reduce cholesterol. It slows your heart rate. It increases blood flow. I guess they've correlated it with a decrease in cardiovascular mortality. It lowers the incidence of cardiovascular disease, and it includes other conditions like type 2 diabetes, dyslipidemia, and high cortisol levels. So there are tremendous benefits to meditating. There's also a large body of information about how it helps the immune system by reducing inflammation, enhancing and supporting the immune system, causing a decline in viral activity. It actually helps in post-operative healing, reduces markers of inflammation, helps in chronic diseases like arthritis and allergies. And there's been studies that meditation has an influence on biological aging. So people who meditate don't age as fast as people who don't, which is amazing. And then finally, I just chose 3 little areas to share with you. Finally, people who meditate don't suffer from being in pain as much. They've done over 30 clinical trials on this, and they've shown that long-term meditators can reduce pain by 90%, and that they have a higher tolerance for pain, so they can put up with more if they have to. And it's not just the long-term meditators, but people who've only been meditating for a short time have a reduction in their perception of their pain and can reduce their chronic pain by 57%, and that the results last beyond the meditation session. And I know myself anecdotally, sometimes I teach corporations, I go into corporations and teach meditation. And I remember once I went to, there was a group who were doing a strategic review. They were doing an off-site for a day, and they had me in just after lunch, I guess as the light relief. And 3 of the people in the room had really bad headaches because of all the stress of what they've been talking about. And I was in there for an hour, and by the end of the session, nobody had a headache anymore. So, and I've had people come into my workshops with backache, and for the duration of the workshop, they don't have backache, that they are able to relieve their pain. Now, anecdotally, actually, sometimes the opposite can happen, because the form of meditation I teach helps you get more in touch with your body. So if you've been ignoring your body, you'll suddenly become aware of things that you've been ignoring. So you might notice, I meditate. You might think meditation makes you get backache, but the trick is to keep meditating and use the meditation to then release the pain. They've also done studies on pain from chronic diseases and shown that it prevents, slows, or controls pain, and that it comes out favourably in comparison to the way that they normally treat people's pain. So listeners, I hope you've taken all of that in. And let me ask you guys, if you don't already meditate, why not? It just seems such a fantastic preventative thing that you can do to maintain your health and prevent yourself from becoming unwell. And if you listen to the show regularly, you know that we've had at least one person that we've interviewed who works in hospitals doing energy healing, and the hospitals and the insurance companies are all starting to get interested in these kinds of approaches because it saves them money in the long run. So, you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and with Corrie, who's been very quiet because I've been on my soapbox about meditation.
Yes, you have, because you love meditation.
I do. I'm absolutely passionate about meditation, listeners. I love to be in a room of people teaching them to meditate, and watching, especially those who've never done it before, watching their transformation from the beginning to the end of the class, in terms of, I've watched people go from complete skeptic to complete believer in the space of an hour, when they've had the opportunity to directly experience what meditation can do for them. So if you fall into that category of never having meditated before, I recommend that you go to the podcast on drlesleyphillips.com and get our episode about grounding, because that's one of the first meditation techniques I teach people, and it's on there for free on the podcast feed on drlesleyphillips.com. So I think it's time for some advertisements. And after the advertisements, we will come back, and the phone lines will be open tonight. We will be able to take your calls. So let me read the phone number. It's 604-504-7441, extension 4142. Once again, 604-504-7441, extension 4142. You can also email info@drlesleyphillips.com. We'll be back after some messages. Welcome back, listeners. You're tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corrie on 101.7 FM, broadcasting live across the Fraser Valley, live streaming on civl.ca, and available on podcast at drlesleyphillips.com. And we have reached the time in the show, listeners, where we answer your questions. And so I just love to help you out by giving you an intuitive perspective on your relationships, your career, your financial, your health, your life purpose. You can ask questions about your spiritual abilities. People frequently do that because that's something that I am passionate and teach about. Even past lives and so on and so forth. And once again, the number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. So it's over to Corey.
Over to me?
The keeper of questions.
Oh, is that so?
Yes.
Okay, in that case, I have a question from Nan. Nan has a question, sort of a statement question. I want to know my past life.
Oh, that's great. I suppose she's saying, can you tell me one? All right, so we'll take a look at that for this lady. And of course, you know what, listeners? Sometimes I get people asking me what was my past life as though they believe they've only had one. Most of us, and I think if you're into this show and you're listening to this kind of stuff, you're pretty old soul. You're not new to this planet. You know, you can have had thousands and thousands and thousands of past lives. In fact, most of us have. I occasionally meet someone who is new to this world, but mostly we're old souls on here. So when I do a past life reading, therefore, there's a lot to choose from. So how do you decide which past lives to tell somebody about? Well, the way I do it is that I always look at what's going on with them right here, right now, in the current life, and bring up a past life that is relevant to what is going on for them. Because otherwise, what would be the point? The point would just be, I suppose, idle entertainment or, some other reason. But I prefer to help people with their spiritual growth and their spiritual involvement, and therefore look for a life that is going to support you in that. Also, sometimes people ask me whether they've known people that they're involved with in their current life, in past lives, and that's something that we can definitely do. So given some direction, we can look for specific lives that answer specific questions. This lady's left it quite open, so we'll just see what comes up. And I'm going to go quiet now because I'm going to go into trance and take a look. And the first thing, I'm just checking in with this lady herself. It looks like she's in a very rapid growth phase where she's really opening up to a lot of new things, and specifically new awarenesses. So she's opening up to levels of consciousness and awareness that she hasn't previously done this lifetime. So it's almost like, and it's not a searching phase, it's a realization phase. It's sort of like when you get off you get off a plane in a beautiful tropical paradise that you've never been to before, and you're looking around going, wow. It's that kind of feeling I get from her. So there's some revelations, some expanded consciousness, and some growth. So let's take a look at a past life that relates to that. And I'm seeing a past life that's about 40% of the way down her timeline. And I'm going to get a symbol that will give us some information. So the symbol is, it's a flower, but it is a flower, not an embroidered, a flower made of cloth. So somebody's sewn this flower. And I'm seeing that it is on a costume. And the person wearing the costume is dancing. And it's a male. So you don't always come back. If you're a woman now, you're not always a woman. If you're a man now, you're not always a man. As spirit, we don't have gender, so we kind of play with the different possible genders when we incarnate. And You know, it reminds me of a First Nations person in terms of the way that this person is dressed and the way that they are dancing. But I'm actually being told that that's not exactly the culture that it is. It feels more like it would be somewhere like Mongolia or Tibet or somewhere like that, but very tribal looking person. And you know, this person, they're dancing in a kind of ceremonial dance that looks like the dance has a purpose, and the purpose does have to do with connecting with spirit. But I'm seeing that that's not the reason the person's doing it. The reason the person's doing it is just because they love to dance. And when they dance, they feel fantastic. They feel alive. They feel awake. They feel healthy. They just enjoy the movement, the motion. And so I'm seeing that this person it dances with no expectation of what that is, or what that means, or what they will get out of it, or what the result of it will be. Which is curious, because the context of the dance is a dance that people normally do in this culture in order to invoke the gods and connect with the gods. But this person just likes dancing and is just quite happy to dance and really not attached to the outcome. And I think that that's the message in this. And it goes along with this state of awe that I'm seeing unfolding in your reality in present time, in the current life. It's like just experiencing what is from a state of neutrality, with no expectation of what it means or where it will take you, but just to completely be in the moment, absorbed in the moment, in present time, in a state of joy and bliss, which is actually what is a very powerful place to be, because you're not projecting your energy into the past or the future or into expectations. So it's a very, very powerful place to be, and to be in a high vibration in the present moment. That's when all of the gifts of the universe come flooding in, when you've not even got any expectation of that happening. So that's what I'm seeing for this lady, Corey.
That's nice. That was lovely. Thank you, Dr. Lesley.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, we have a question from Aretha in... Oh, it doesn't say where she's from. She has a very interesting name, though. How does this man, JTV, feel about me?
Okay, I will look at that for you, Aretha. But how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about yourself? And does your self-worth depend upon what somebody else feels about you? That's a question to ponder on. Because you are love. You have a source of infinite love within you. And anytime any one of us feels that we need to be validated by anyone or anything outside of ourselves, we are not fully appreciating the love that we are. Anyway, how does JTV feel about you? Let's take a look. Okay, well, I'm seeing that on the surface, he would have the appearance of liking you, maybe even loving you, maybe even to the degree where he would want to marry you, and he would believe that that would be what he would want. But I'm seeing underlying that, he also has self-worth issues, and he also is seeking external validation to make himself feel okay. I'm seeing he's got a complex about needing to, I guess it stems from needing to please his mother. But I'm seeing that he does things to get validation. He's got a thing where he needs to please women, so that he feels validated, so he feels okay within himself. And so I'm seeing that you, it's kind of interesting, because I'm seeing that in a way, even though you've got some matching stuff to that, of also needing external validation, I'm also seeing that one of the things that does is it makes you want to treat him bad, because the worse you treat him, it will make him keep coming back and try and please you and change whatever you're dishing out to him. And so I'm seeing that it's, while on the surface all these things that you might want to happen could very well happen, but that it would be a relationship that there would be these underpinnings that would affect the dynamic of the relationship, that I suppose a psychologist might not call a healthy relationship. I'm not judging. I'm just saying that this is something to be aware of, that the pair of you have not addressed certain aspects of your inner work, so that the relationship you would not be able to be neutral with one another, and it might play out in the fashion that I just described or suggested. Okay. Corey, I might go to an ad because it's, and then we'll come back and finish off the show. So
you're allowed to do whatever your little heart desires.
So I'll just mention, listeners, that you're listening to Unlocking Your Truth, that you can call 604-504-7441, extension 4142, and please do, we love it when you call live. We will answer your question live on air if you do that. And if not, we'll keep going through our email questions that you can send in to info@drlesleyphillips.com. Welcome back, listeners. This is Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corey.
You cut him off.
No, I didn't. He's 9 seconds long.
You never got to say 101.7.
Didn't he?
No.
I didn't cut him off. He's only 9 seconds long. I don't know why. That's not very long to do a station ID.
Must have cut himself off then.
I suppose so. Anyway, listeners, if you've got a burning question and you want to phone us up and ask us, the number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And in the meantime, I will take some email questions.
So I have a question from Alusa. Alusa wants to know, what is my life purpose? I mean, her life purpose, not mine.
Yes, that's the most common question I get asked. I'm writing a book on it. It's almost finished. Anyway, let's take a look. Actually, you know what? Before I look at the answer for this lady, I'm going to get on my soapbox about my life purpose. How about that? So there is no moment in your life that lacks purpose from a spiritual perspective. And you have many life purposes, and they change moment to moment, and they change throughout your life. So, for example, right now my purpose is to deliver a fabulous radio show. When I go home, my purpose might be to relax. At one point in time, somebody's purpose might be to be a mother, and another point in time, that same person, well, their purpose might be nurturing. They might and balancing their giving and receiving, and they might, through their life, work on that purpose from different perspectives. Being a mother, being a teacher, being a physician, and being an invalid and having to receive. Looks like you want to say something.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that ask that question are actually saying, I don't really enjoy what I'm doing right now. Is there something else waiting for me?
Yeah, or they feel like they're just drifting, they're just drifting without deep meaning in their lives. And of course, a purpose we all share as humanity is to become awakened humans. In the old days, they call that to become enlightened, but I think that word is misunderstood. So I would just prefer to call it being an awakened human, to wake up inside yourself, to be conscious, to be really conscious and connected with your source, with your higher self, and to know yourself and accept yourself, and then to be the deliberate creator of your life. That's a higher purpose of this planet and human beings being on this planet that we all share. But usually when people ask that question, they want to know, what's my special thing that I'm here to do that's different than everyone else, perhaps that I can be of service doing?
It's sort of the same question as those people who go out and look for themselves. Well, the thing is, if you're looking for yourself, you will actually, when you succeed, you will actually find, guess what? Yourself. No, because no matter where you are, that's where you are. And your life purpose is the same thing. No matter what your purpose is what your purpose is right now, what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I remember the Buddhist monk, I forget what his name was, but he's written...
Thich Nhat Hanh?
Yeah, something like that. And he says, no matter what you're doing in life, make that your purpose right there. If you're washing dishes, focus on the washing dishes. Don't worry about getting through the dishes so you can go out for a walk. Put all your attention in that dishwashing and do the best dishwashing that you can possibly do when you're doing that. And I actually take that one very seriously. I love washing dishes.
He does, listeners, no kidding.
And when I say it's a meditative state for me, people laugh at me. But it is a meditative, because one place where I do the best I can do at washing these dishes at that point in time, and I don't rush through them. I always take my time, and I do that meditation every day, 2 or 3 times. It's a wonderful thing. I do the same thing with laundry. I love doing laundry because it's my meditation. And I do it the best I can do.
Anyway.
You were going to answer this lady's question.
I was. And you said her name was
Alusa.
Alusa. So I'm going to take a look. Well, I'm actually seeing the reason why this person is asking the question is that she's feeling blocked. Is that she's under the illusion of being disconnected from source energy. And there's a little theme in some of the questions tonight, because I'm seeing that the main reason that feels disconnected is because she's got a big blob of invalidation. So it looks like she's received a lot of invalidation about herself and her abilities. And of course, all of us, we just want to be seen for who we are and accepted for who we are. That's just one of the intrinsic human needs. Just love me as I am, see me as I am, accept me as I am. And I'm seeing that this lady Alusa, you've not been that's not what you've received in your life from the people around you, from the people who are meant to be loved ones, family and friends and so on. I'm seeing that you've received messages of restriction and of, oftentimes our culture and the people around us are just very prescriptive about what's acceptable and what's right and what's not right and what you should do with your life and what you shouldn't do with your life. And it looks like you have a ton of that, and it really gets in your way of connecting with your truth, your unique perspective, and what sets your heart on fire. What makes you feel passionate about something. I'm seeing it's there, but you're not connecting with it because in the way that you've been brought up or you've lived your life so far, that's not allowed. And so right now your purpose is healing yourself. Right now your purpose is letting go of what is in your way of knowing yourself, loving yourself enough to give yourself what you truly want. So often we just want to have an answer like, this is it, and then go after it. But I'm seeing if I told you this is it, and then you went after it, you'd be skipping a lot of steps, and you'd go after it, and you'd still be unhappy because you'd still be carrying around with you the limits that are preventing you from connecting with it yourself. So the answer to help you connect it with yourself is about doing we call it inner work, self-healing yourself, but basically letting go of how you've allowed other people to dictate your reality to you. And as you do that, you will find that you get clearer about yourself and who you are and what you want. So just ask yourself, what are these influences? Who are these influences? And really take a look at how you're operating in your life. And are you operating from your own truth or from somebody else's? And I think you'll find that a lot of it is somebody else's. And that's what the issue is here. Alrighty.
Okay, I have a question from Jared in Wallani, USA. Wallane. Not sure. I think it's Wallane. Okay.
Sounds like Australia if it's Wallani.
No, it's Wallane.
Like Warrimoo.
USA. Good old USA. And he's a Taurus. And he
not
said,
Taurus, not tourist.
No, he's a Taurus. Taurus. No,
The bull.
He's Taurus. And he says, I feel like I'm in a never-ending vortex of bad luck. Since the age of 12 to the present in the now. Please shed some light. Thank you and be blessed and loved.
Well, if we had this chap here, we'd ask him what happened when he was 12, wouldn't we, Corey?
Definitely, because that's probably where he had that emotional break where he doesn't feel he deserves anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Because, listeners, what happens to all of us, really, is we're born, these lovely, bright, sparkly, pristine, clear vessels. And then other people get a hold of us and teach us stuff about the world. And life gets a hold of us and we have some experiences, and those experiences cause us to tell ourselves things about the world. And if what we're telling ourselves about the world and what other people are telling us about the world is be afraid, be very afraid, or, life is very painful, and we believe it, then we start to create a vortex of attraction for those things that we're believing in, right? So if you're believing in abundance and love, then you're in a vortex of attraction for that. But if you believe in pain and suffering, then you're in a vortex of attraction for that. So that's what this chap is talking about, that he's had a vortex of bad luck since he was 12. So what belief got laid down when he was 12 to teach him that his life is just a big string of bad luck? Because what happens is he attracts something else, bad luck, believes it even more, and so that energy intensifies. That attraction point intensifies. I'm going to take a look at his energy and see if I can... And it does look like there was an incident around that age. Corey's usually quite good at seeing these kinds of things, so we might ask him to chime in. Okay. Sounds like you've got something, Corey, do you? Well, there you go ahead and say.
Well, when I read into it, what I see is he fell off his bicycle. And he had a bad spill on his bicycle. And from there on in, he picked up this belief of, if I try something bad occurs. And he hadn't been driving his bicycle for a long time. I think it was a new bicycle, from what I'm gathering. So he had this emotional belief around every time he's trying something, it's become painful. So he's equated pain with bad luck. And I'm sure if he looks back in his life properly, in a very succinct manner, he'll see he's had lots of quote unquote luck. And luck, as some people say, is opportunity plus motivation. So I can understand why he feels that way. There's a lot of people that do feel that way. But again, we've talked about this many times as well. It's about getting into the now, getting into the present, getting into where you are. And so if you do that, then every moment is lucky because you're able to actually consider your nowness.
That's a good point. You wipe the slate clean in every moment. Yeah, the only thing I would add is it looks like he's also got into this pattern of thinking that says, I suppose it's a victim mentality, and it says, why me? I'm a good-hearted person. I'm a well-meaning person, and yet this happens. Why me? But he tells it to himself over and over again, and then he repeats the occurrence of that pattern. Anyway, we are approaching the end of the show. We've got about 5 minutes left.
Well, I have one more statement for him as well. I don't think it was, now that I'm looking at it even deeper, I don't think it was when you were 12 years old. I think the reality, see what happens is we have an emotional reaction to, we have a trauma in our life. And at some point in the future, that trauma takes hold and we have physical or emotional or even mental issues that come from that trauma. And sometimes it's months later, sometimes it's months or years later, sometimes it's decades later. In your case, I think what happened is you had this problem with your bicycle, falling off your bicycle, and when you hit 12 years old, that's when it came to light in your reality. That's when that trauma became that emotional baggage that you're carrying in that sense. And I know it sounds foolish to have emotional problems in that sense cause bad luck, but we make our luck in that way. Yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. We should just explain to this person that, of course, you can change this. And the way that you can change it is by letting go of that past time baggage. You can use meditation to do it. I recommend our grounding podcast and use grounding to let go of the past. So we are towards the end of the show, listeners, and I wanted to just say that this year we've been alternating an interview, bringing you some interesting people to talk to and give you different perspectives, with shows where we teach. And I'm curious, listeners, do you like the interviews? Do you prefer when it's just us, or do you like it when we bring a guest on? We'd love you to write in and let us know how you're enjoying the guest interviews. We'd love your feedback. And of course, as always, we are happy to put programming in place that covers subject matter that you're interested in. So if ever you have a request, Dr. Lesley, and Corey, will you do a teaching on ... something that you're interested in under the umbrella of metaphysics and spirituality, then we are delighted to put together programming that matches those desires and needs. So you can send in your feedback to info@drlesleyphillips.com. And of course, Lesley is spelt Lesley. So it's drlesleyphillips.com. We'd love you to tell us, do you love the interviews, or do you prefer the old format when we weren't doing interviews and it was just us giving you teachings? And we'd love to know what new teachings do you want to know?
And if you can't make the show, folks, you can send in your email question. And if you send an email question to afreecardreading.com, Dr. Lesley will answer not only on air, but she will also do a video. We're now doing video answers, responses to the questions. It's really exciting. Afreecardreading.com. You'll get it back in your inbox. You pull a card for you, and you will get a personalized video.
Yeah, that's right. It is. It's very exciting. So,
thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.